Well, we are here with Kayla Bowker, who's born in Hood River, Oregon. And it says right here, you're a small town girl with a desire for adventure. That's how they kind of
Yep.
put you. Is that a pretty good synopsis
Yeah,
of
I'd
you?
say I would say that's still a very good synopsis of me. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you're in training for Kona. Where'd you qualify?
I qualified at Texas Ironman, so back in April.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How
Yeah.
many, how many is this?
This will be Kona number 3 for me.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I was there, last time I was there was 2018. So it's been a while. So
It
I'm
has
really
been a while.
excited. Yeah, I'm really excited to get back.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting this year too, with after kind of the weird times that we've had for the couple of years. I think it's going to be a real good time for every kind of get back together and reestablish those relationships that have lost after for a long time.
Yeah, and just to bring back the energy that
Hmm.
comes from a world championship race like this is, it's definitely one of my favorite races that I've ever raced at or been to because the energy is just so different. It's powerful. It's nerve-wracking. There's just the energy is just very like it just seeps into everything that you do. I remember the first time my dad went to Kona when I went in 2017, and he afterwards he said everybody has to go to that race. It's different. It's so different. The energy is just unbelievable and it kind of like sucks you in and you just want to be a part of it.
It is definitely, I've been going there since 2004, I think was, no, 97 was my first year down there. And it definitely has a vibe. I remember just sitting at the swim start, just soaking it all in, all the guys with
Hmm.
the conch shells and the mountains in the background, a little church and town. It's,
Yep.
it is otherworldly, the experience that you get.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's cool. So you started in Bend, Oregon, was it?
No, so I grew up in Hood River
Okay.
and then which is actually like 3 hours north of Bend.
Hmm.
So I have spent time in Bend. And
Great.
then went to college in Spokane, which is where I currently live. So Spokane, Washington. I went to Gonzaga University, where I graduated with a biology degree and ran track and cross country for them. After college, I wanted some time and I grew up ski racing. So I started skiing. That was like my big thing. I was a
Hmm.
skier.
Hmm.
I started skiing at the age of 2. I ski raced regionally, kind of across the whole region until I was 18. Skied a lot in college. And so then after college, I moved to Utah for a year to chase snow and ended up back in Spokane, where I then eventually met my husband, and now that's where we still are. So, yeah, I that's kind of where a very, very fast synopsis of my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I read something that you kind of got into triath. I mean, we all triathlon's really interesting. That I talk to a lot of people, and I have my own story too. But there are so many people that come to triathlon for a reason,
Yeah.
whatever that reason is. I mean, there's a lot of 12 steppers.
Hmm.
There's a whole bunch of people that are very attracted to the sport. I remember, and you said something similar in an interview that I remember the first time I saw Alcatraz on television. And I'm like, well, that looks compulsive obsessive.
Yeah.
That's perfect,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
And I'm wondering because I know a little bit about your story. What is it that triathlon attracts those kind of people with that are looking for something? I think is the way I put it. Is they're searching for something. They're not necessarily thrilled with the way things are, and triathlon sort of pops up. It's really interesting.
I think it has to do with the fact that it's a challenge. And when you find yourself in this space where you really want to look for something, that usually means that you are looking for some form of growth, whatever that growth be. It can be a large range of things. It can be looking for something to take the place of something else, looking to grow within yourself, professionally, emotionally, physically. It doesn't really matter. There's a lot of growth that comes with it. And challenge and fear of challenge and the kind of uncertainty that comes with that is one of the best ways you can find that. And I think triathlon is just something that it's always a little bit daunting. It's always a bit like, can I do that? I'm not sure. But when you then take that step to do it, you realize, wow, look at who I'm becoming. Look at how I'm changing. Look at how I'm growing. And I'm not the same person that I was when I started. And guess what? I kind of like this new person. And that's kind of how you kind of get addicted to it. I know I got hooked on it because for that exact reason, I was searching for something. I was going through some stuff and was searching for something. And one of the ways I always did that as a kid and growing up and all these things, like I said, you said at the beginning, that small town girl with the zest for adventure. That's what my family did. We adventured, we pushed ourselves, we challenged ourselves. And I was like, God, something's missing in my life and I don't like who I am right now. So how do I fix that? Well, I've always fixed that by pushing myself to that limit, to seeing just how hard you can push yourself. And so I said, I'm going to go do that. And I was out there and fell back in love with myself through that. Just that need to always kind of toe the line, like just how much can I grow? Who can I become? How far can I push myself? And I had a huge passion for it and kind of fell in love with the sport through that. And that's just kind of grown and cultivated over the years as I've really learned even more and more about myself, and then now help others to try to kind of find that same thing.
Yeah, I found myself in my 30s, a banker, married, kids, but with really low self-esteem. I mean, to the point where I just, you have all the accoutrement, but you don't really feel good. And there's something very cleansing and prideful about thinking that I'm the fittest person in this room right now. And it's kind of like that, the level of fitness gave me self-worth, not in a mean, deep way. I mean, you're super physically fit. That's not the deepest way of running your life, but it gave me a basis to feel good about myself. And I really appreciate triathlon and what it gave me. And a lot of times you have to do, a lot of self-work, work on yourself to try and fix things. But it's like triathlon, you compete, you sweat, you go out there and make new friends, which helps a lot. You get a new group of friends, and it almost pulls you along. It's not therapy, but it definitely pulls you to a different place. And then when you get there, you're a different person. And I think triathlon's one of the very, very, very few sports that can do that for you.
Yep, I would agree very much. It's definitely one of those things, and I think it really does, because in order to do triathlon, you have to strip yourself down bare. It's just the way it is. You have to look deep within yourself, because it is a challenge and it's hard. It's one of the harder things that you can do. And in order to come out the other end, you have to learn about you, and you have to find that foundation that allows you to have that self-worth and that self-confidence and that belief and faith and passion in who you are. And triathlon can help you find that. It did for me.
The list is long. It's not just us. It's a long list of folks that, from Lionel all the way down, people that have really, it's been super beneficial.
And I think the greatest and coolest thing about it is it doesn't matter if you are the, person coming, Jan Frodeno, crossing the line, Lucy Charles, #1 in the world, or you're the person who's coming in at the very end, or maybe even the person who hasn't even finished one, but you've tried. We're all kind of have this deep rooted foundation. We're all the same. We're all trying something. We're all finding this joy in this struggle. And at the end of the day, no matter who you are, and it's what unites this sport to making the best of the best and the person who's maybe not the best, but we're all kind of together. And it brings a lot of togetherness within that space. And I think that's one of the coolest things about it, because I always have athletes that, like, gosh, I had this great realization that really I have to remind myself of how much fun I have when I'm out here. And I'm not out here to win it. I'm just out here to have fun. And I said, well, you know what? At the end of the day, even the person who's out here to win it has to believe in that fun, has to believe and have faith in that joy of, I love to swim, I love to bike, I love to run. And it's deeply rooted in who I am. And that makes it wonderful. And so I think that's one of the other cool things about it is this doesn't matter who you are. If you're out there to win it, if you're out there to finish it or not finish it, we still have this deep rooted belief in ourselves that we're doing something cool. So.
Yeah. And the culmination of that's always the finish line, which in Hawaii is off the hook.
Out of this world.
Crazy. You can't reproduce that. And everybody's there, and everybody's supporting the 17-hour people, which really is different than the marathoners don't hang around for the 6 hour people,
No.
the walkers.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
luck with
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. So, you get into the sport. How quickly do you figure out I'm good at this? I mean, you've obviously got running background, so you've got some
Mhm.
of it, but the swimming and the biking's daunting for runners. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how quickly do you figure out, hey, I'm pretty good at this?
I kind of realized fairly quickly because I started placing really well
Mhm,
instantly.
mhm,
Um, but not only than that, like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I actually am pretty good at this. But more than anything, it really came down to I just love this.
mhm,
I love it.
mhm,
Like I was like, this is what I want to be doing. This is where I belong.
mhm,
And that was even stronger than, hey, you know what? I am good at this. Let's see what I can do with it. That
mhm,
kind of was a piece of it. And I think that was also mostly rooted in I'm an extraordinarily competitive person
mhm,
with myself, with others, and I want to be the best.
mhm.
And I want to be the best for me. And that I think so. Then I was like, okay, you're good at this. You love this. Let's see what you can do. So um, I I qualified for age group nationals at my second race, and then got really into the sport after that and jumped into the long distance and qualified for 70.3 worlds pretty quickly in Kona at my first Ironman. And so yeah, it spearheaded pretty quick. So it was um, really exciting and just one of those things where I just kept wanting more because
Mhm.
I wanted more for me. I wanted to see how I could grow within it and, really just continue to cultivate this extreme love for the sport that I had.
How close are you to you close to where you want to be, or you got a ways to go yet?
Close.
Close?
Yeah.
Really? That's
Yeah.
nice.
Very
That
close. Like,
that's
like just got to get through Kona and then more will come.
that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
do you like going longer, or do you like the shorter stuff?
Longer. I
Longer,
am
the
a long
longer the
course
better?
specialist.
Yeah.
70.3 and full Ironman are my specialties. I have not done a sprint, or I've actually never done a sprint distance, and I haven't done an Olympic since I moved up to the long course stuff when I first started. So um, I I am not a I am an adult onset swimmer. Um, so anything short than a 70.3, I just don't have enough time
Yeah.
to make up how far back I am. So,
Yeah. As a
yeah.
runner, I completely you
Uh-huh.
gotta be able to
Uh-huh.
run people down. No,
Yep. I
absolutely.
need some space. I need some time.
Yes, absolutely. So where do you like racing? What part of the world? You got
Oh, wow.
any favorite races?
Everywhere.
Yeah, any favorite
Coeur
races?
d'Alene is actually one of my favorite races.
Mhm,
I love the race. I love the atmosphere. Um, Kona is at probably my number one. Just again, it has to do with the atmosphere and I think the races it suits me very well. Um, where all have I raced? St. George is one of my favorite places. I absolutely love that. Colorado.
mhm. Have
I
you
actually really like.
Have you done Mont Tremblant?
I have not done Mont Tremblant. Those are on my bucket lists to get
Me
up there.
me too.
I raced in Whistler the second to last year that they had it up there and loved that race.
Yeah.
Um,
You ever done
so,
10 Tickton?
mm-mm,
That's
nope.
a great
Yep.
track. I mean, it's a great one of the great bike courses I ever did. I loved that track. It was awesome.
So, yeah, I just honestly like to travel. So, ideally, I'd love to get over to Europe and Australia and stuff, but hasn't been on the cards just yet. So maybe here in the very near future.
Cool. Can you talk a little bit about your training weeks?
Mhm.
Typically what kind of mileage you're doing. Love to hear a little bit about your nutrition, obviously, considering this is Infinite Nutrition.
Mhm. Mhm.
And just kind of prep and running up into Kona and what are your weeks going to look like? What have they looked like for probably the last,
Mhm.
4 to 6 weeks, and what are they looking at going into the race?
Yeah. So for this Kona build, we upped my volume a bit to around 24 hours a week. So I kind of usually average between 20 and 24 hours a week on a regular basis. Like last week was a 22-hour week. And that's a good mixture of just a good mixture of swim, bike, run. I'd say I bike anywhere from 4 to 5 days a week, run around 4 days a week, and swim 5 days a week, somewhere in that range.
Mhm.
Um, so really, my days are. It's hard for me to do too much more than about 24 hours a week due to my life. I have two kids.
Mhm.
I have a 2.5 year. Well, he'll be 3 in November, so 2.5-ish year old and a little over 1 year old. And then I also run my own business. So I don't have my days are very packed and very full. um, so 24 hours a week is kind of, I'd love to we're working to get above that, but they'll have to take some life changes a little bit and stuff like that. So,
Kindergarten.
um,
Kindergarten.
kindergarten.
That's
Yes.
please.
Thankfully we have daycare. We do. That's the only way I can get this done. When we
Nice.
had our second kid, my husband and I had a conversation, like, because daycare is more than the mortgage on our home. We
Yeah.
have a beautiful home,
Oh.
very large, and daycare is more than it.
Oh, God.
But it was a conversation we had, and it was like, well, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but he is the person who makes more in our family. And we had to have a conversation like, okay, well, if we don't want daycare, what does that look like for us? And it meant me having to back off on my business and maybe not chase my, dreams to become a professional triathlete. And I said, I don't want that. I have these dreams. I have these goals. I want to achieve them. I want my kids to see that I didn't give up on them and I achieved them. And so we pay for daycare, and it's the main reason I can do this. So Thank you, daycare.
Well, it's a tremendous sacrifice for everybody involved. The sport, I mean, I believe me, my ex-wife will tell you all about the sacrifices that she made.
A lot of sacrifice.
A lot of sacrifices, and the support. It's so important to have the support people in your life that are able to kind of let you do that. So are you training inside mostly, or you out on the roads?
Nope, out on the roads. In the summer, I'm out on the roads. I barely trained inside at all this summer. I prefer to be out on the roads.
Yeah.
And then in the winter, obviously, we have nasty winters here in the Pacific Northwest. So basically, by the time I get home from Kona, I'll be basically inside, unless I head down to Arizona or something. So
Got it. So your coaching business, talk a little bit about that. Is that, when did you pick that up? Was that somebody's like, hey, would you coach me kind of thing? And all of a sudden you kind of got into it and liked it, or how did that evolve for you?
So it kind of evolved as, once again, I'm that person who dives headfirst into the deep end when I decide I want to do something. Again, it really stemmed from my love for triathlon and the sport. I love the sport, and I wanted to start sharing that with other people and helping other people to find what it did for me, helping them to find it. And at the time when I kind of made this decision, I was working in the corporate world as a project manager and was working a million hours a week and just not in a very good environment. I was making very good money, especially for my age, because I was one of the youngest project soon to be like senior project managers. And I went to my husband and said, I can't do this anymore. I want to start my own business. I want to coach. He said, oh, so you want to leave your just shy of six-figure job and start a business that you don't know if will work? And I said, yeah, we're financially stable. Let's do it. So he said, all right, go for it. And I quit my job and started coaching. And just kind of started putting myself out there and, said, hey, I love the sport. I've always wanted to coach. I've always wanted to run my own business, and I want to go for this, and just started putting myself out there as, hard on my sleeve kind of thing. And this is me, and this is what I want to be. And it took off really quickly and really amazingly. And again, it's kind of one of those things where I really just found this love for something. And I love it. I love coaching. I love helping others. So I've been doing that for I'm starting to lose track. 5 years now. I've been coaching for 5 years now, 4 or 5 years now. And the business has blossomed. I now also coach for mental performance clients. So it's a kind of twofold to my business. And it was one of the best things I ever did. I was able to learn and grow myself as an athlete, and then, also be able to help others to, find this amazing strength that, like I said earlier, triathlon brings out a strength in people, and I get to help cultivate that, and it's amazing.
That's neat. So what would you say, if compared to other coaches, what would be a strength that you bring to the table that other coaches may not?
I always like to say that I am the toughest, most understanding coach you'll ever have. Basically, I'm going to push you. I'm going to push you to find new space within yourself, but I'm also extraordinarily understanding. I get that life is there. I understand that things happen. As we're growing, we have to have grace within ourselves to grow. And because of that, I'm able to really help athletes to work around and learn about who they are and use the sport to help them grow, not just across the finish line, but to actually to grow and to change and to become a better version of themselves. So it's multifold. Where I'm definitely going to I push my athletes to be the best version of themselves, but in a whole holistic range. Like, we want to grow across the board. We want to become better at our own jobs. We want to become better within our family or within our relationships. And we want to have more fun and enjoy life a little bit more. And you can find all that stuff if you do it right. So, yeah.
So it's combination performance and psychotherapy at the same time.
Something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
Now that's really exciting, because I do think that, you meet a lot of technical coaches, and I work with hundreds of coaches. And the special ones are the ones that are really able to communicate with their people. And there are so many of them out there. We're really lucky, and they don't necessarily have to be the most technically proficient at the world, but it's delivering that spirit and able to motivate people. I think is really, really the good ones have it. So congratulations on your business.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun. I like to, I'm definitely not the most technical coach. Like, a lot of times I'll get asked, clients will be like, hey, what do you do from a scientific standpoint? I'm just not scientific from that standpoint. I understand the basics of the science behind it, but I believe there's a lot within the athlete. And that's what I try to bring out within you. And if you can bring that piece out, then the science pieces, I always find kind of come to head.
Got it. So from a science perspective, as an Ironman coach, how much do you do long, slow distance versus speed work? How much time for your typical age group folks? Where are they focusing most of their time? Obviously, that's going to be on their weaknesses. I get that. But just kind of, what's your philosophy as far as how you train your people, and just so the overall environment?
Really, the number one piece here is it depends on the athlete. That's my number one piece. I train everybody uniquely. So some athletes need to work on their ability from an aerobic standpoint. A lot of the athletes that I often get, especially if they're newer, we have to spend time really working that. You could call it some people call it the LT1, or your aerobic threshold, or your base. There's a lot of different ways that you can describe it. But that, especially as a long course athlete, that range has to be your biggest range. And that has to be your foundation. So that's always where we start, is we start there. Like, I have one athlete right now who's racing Kona with me, and, she keeps saying, well, when are we going to throw in the speed work? And I said, I have you on a 5-year plan. Right now, speed work will not get you anywhere. You will see very, very short response to it, but long-term, it's not going to help you. Right now, we have to build that foundation and your ability to run longer, to bike longer at a little bit higher effort. And so that's kind of where I usually like to start with people. And then again, it just really depends on, the athlete that, you have. But when you're spending a lot of time with your typical age grouper, I find it's best to kind of focus in that mid. I don't like to call it the gray zone, because I don't think we should spend. I think people spend too much time in the gray zone, and not enough time on either end of it. So it's more on, again, helping athletes to really develop their ability to push their threshold just a little bit longer. And by threshold, I don't mean your ability to just go balls to the walls, because that's not. Your threshold is multifaceted. And so I really like to work with athletes on their ability to hold, you call it sweet spot or LT1, just a little bit higher, and your threshold within that space a little bit higher.
Yeah. And I think also one aspect that athletes, being athletes, and especially new Ironman people, they're so motivated and they want to do more. And a lot of time, it's not your VO2 max or your fitness level. It has to do with the soft connective tissues that are just not ready to handle 200-300 mile weeks. And
you have to build that stuff up.
You do. And I think that type of protocol that you're talking about is actually going to build that to the point where your knees are strong enough, your hips are strong enough, your ankles are strong enough, your planters, all that stuff is strong enough actually to handle the load that you're going to get to. Because people shake themselves apart. I mean, it's like marathoners. It's crazy.
More often than not, when I start working with an athlete, I have to deload them. I have to deload them for about a month before we can then start bringing it back up. That's more often than not, when I start working with someone, that's usually what we have to do first.
So eliminating bad thoughts, eliminating bad
No, like
habits or?
deloading volume.
Mm,
Usually they come to me and they've been running 6 days a week, biking 6 days a week. Like it's just this astronomically high, and we usually have to back that off and say, okay, well, let's kind of deload your volume a little bit, get your body back to more of a stable foundation, and then we're going to start layering on some tempo work, and then we're going to start layering on some stride work, and then we're going to start bringing up some progression work and start layering those pieces on. But more often than not, you have to bring it back a little bit, kind of deload the nervous system, and then
mhm.
start over.
It's so interesting. We find the same thing on the nutrition side. I don't know what it is about Ironman people, but they all think if one's good, then three has to be better.
Mhm.
Which, and that's not the case when it comes to volumes and target your training
Mhm.
schedules. And it also doesn't include on the nutrition side is that,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know how much you've had problems with your nutrition in the past, but in general,
Not since I
people
started with nutrition or Infinit, none.
yeah, yeah. But a lot of people, I think Infinite prevents people from being knuckleheads, just mile
Mhm.
an hour, that simplicity as far as their racing and training goes. Can you tell us a little bit about, your background with nutrition, how you work with Infinite, and then how you work with your clients? I think that would be
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah, so my background with nutrition really just kind of comes from my own knowledge, and what I've learned over the years for myself. I definitely don't like from a straight up nutrition standpoint. If we're even just talking like macros and food in general, I take that step back and I refer people to away from that. For away from me, I don't have the bandwidth to cover it. But I do cover intra and pre and post type of work more
Mhm,
than anything. So like ensuring that athletes are doing an appropriate number of calories, that they're getting their electrolyte counts in appropriately, and a good number of carbs, like kind of helping them to manage, okay, what kind of plan should you follow? Do you need to do a combo of liquid and solid? Do you need to only do liquid because that's who you are? Can you not handle liquids? Like working through those pieces. Do you
mhm,
need extra this? Do you need this? So we work a lot of those together, through the training. So I really encourage my athletes to constantly work on their nutrition throughout the training. And then, I do always do make sure that I encourage athletes to eat plenty. I am a big believer that food is fuel. You need to eat. You have to eat. You have to fuel your workouts, and you have to eat on a daily basis. It's if you don't, you will not succeed. You
nope,
you cannot do what you're trying to do.
nope.
Um, and then for me, on that instance, I started. I started Infinite. Wow, I don't like almost right at not too long out of the gate. So I started triathlon in 2013, and I think I started with Infinite in like 2015,
Mhm,
somewhere in that range. And I started because I was jumping up to the long course and knew that I had to try to fuel that. And I was trying I had tried a bunch of different types of different nutritions. And I spent one race going from porta potty to porta potty to porta potty. And so I just Googled something else, and I just was like, I need something else. And I Googled and I came across Infinite, and
mhm,
I was like, oh, custom nutrition. I like the way this sounds. You can make it fit for me. And just kind of dove in, worked with you guys. And all of a sudden I stopped having issues.
mhm.
And so, yeah, I've been working with you guys for quite some time now. And have encouraged a lot of my athletes to use it as well. So
That's awesome.
the custom nutrition is definitely for me works the best, because I can adjust it. Like I adjusted my normal blend for Kona because I
Mhm,
need more electrolytes and I actually need more carbs.
mhm,
And especially I adjusted it after I had kids, because I found with my increase in volume and after having babies, I need more carbs than I ever needed. Where I just need I need more. I used to be very fat burning for the most part. And after having kids, I like feed me all the carbs. I could not
Interesting.
seem to get enough of them. I don't know
Yep.
what that switch was, but
Mm.
yeah. So yeah.
Well, that's one of the nice things about Infinite, obviously, as your body changes and we all age. I mean, I started the company
Hmm.
when I was in oh my, right around 40s, and I'm now in my 60s, and I'm different now than I was in my 40s,
Hmm.
that's for sure. And
Yep.
I think the other thing that's interesting for your athletes is that I've always thought that Infinite really prevents people from being knuckleheads because athletes always want to do more. And I think,
Mhm.
if you're trained correctly, and if you've done your practice, the one thing you don't want to do on race day is all of a sudden start jamming a bunch of food in your stomach. It
Mhm.
just makes, I've done a bunch of Ironman. Every single marathon I've run that's been a good marathon is because of nutrition. Every
Mhm.
single one. And the ones that I
Yep.
didn't, because I didn't have my act together on the bike. And I
Mhm.
think we just prevent people from being knuckleheads. Just
Mhm.
that simplicity.
And I think
Mantra.
you prevent it on both ends, whether it's eating more or not enough. Because
Yes.
I see it not enough a lot. That's
Do
actually the
you?
number one thing that I see.
Oh, okay.
Not enough.
Yeah.
And then you just run out of glycogen stores, right? We do not have enough glycogen in our bodies,
Right.
which is we don't have enough, and we can't preload enough either.
Right.
And so we have to kind of try to satiate that and to kind of supplement that. And but more often than not, I see not enough. And I
Interesting.
think it helps to prevent that, because so many people is trying to do maybe only using gels or bars or whatever. It's hard to eat that much food. It's
Mhm.
really hard to eat enough. I mean, in reality, most people, you need to be eating around 280 to 350 calories an hour,
Yeah.
give or take, right? They're guidelines. That's hard to do
Yeah.
while you're biking and running.
Oh yeah, and you take a bite of a Cliff Bar and you're still chewing it 20 minutes later. It just
Exactly.
things
Yeah.
don't you don't have the saliva, you don't have there's so
Mhm.
many things that are different riding a bike. It just
Mhm.
even gels, I mean gels are fine for a marathon, and a couple hours I can take a couple of gels, but after
Mhm.
8, 9 hours, the thought of taking a gel is
No, there's no
so
way I could race a whole Ironman on gels only. I
the
think
whole
I'd start vomiting.
gag reflex at 10 hours is just charming.
Yeah.
That's
No,
really
thank
fun.
you. Yeah.
So to this point in your career, what would you say that was my highlight? And that doesn't necessarily have to be a win, but it could be your first race or with your first time kids seeing mom, or
Mhm.
what's your highlight so far? So far, because I think you have more coming up.
Yeah, I think I have more. I honestly think that's what the coolest thing. I have more coming up, a lot
Yeah.
more coming up. Just now that I have kids, it's like just so much better, and I have some cool stuff. What I think, I finally think I finally reached some of the goals that I've really attained, and I'm ready to take it to that next space. Um, Kona 2018 was a highlight for me, for sure. I had a horrible Kona 2017, like slowest marathon I've ever run, really disappointing. And I basically said, all right, we got to do that again. Like that was a failure. Let's figure it out. Let's do it again. Requalified a couple months later, and then raced in 2018 and had one of my best executed races. So that was definitely a highlight. And then most recently,
What's the difference between the two?
my mindset. I completely changed my mindset.
Huh.
100%. Training obviously was different. I had grown as an athlete, and I,
Right.
was starting to really train. And I had a really good year in 2018. I guess I actually technically had qualified for my professional license in 2018, and just
Mhm.
never realized it. Didn't realize didn't understand the qualifications. So I had a really, really good year, but my mindset changed. I was stopped looking at it from a pressure standpoint and an outcome standpoint, and only focusing on that, when I started really looking internally, like what do I have to do to achieve the goals? What do I have to focus on? What actions do I need to do? And what do I need to do to believe in myself? And I swear to you, I manifested that day. I spent months before that race saying, I will do a sub 10-hour Ironman at Kona. I will do it. I will do this. I will do this. I will do this. I will do this. I wrote it every morning. And I did a 10 flat and ran myself into eighth in my age group. And just, it was a really, really good day. And then most recently, I'd say Coeur d'Alene 70.3 was one of my highlights for this year. Best race I've ever executed, PR run. My kids were watching. I remember running, Skylar yelling at me, "Go, mommy, go, mommy, go."
Hmm.
And, I took second. I mean, I didn't even win it. And that was my goal. And I didn't do that, but it was one of those days where the whole idea of racing again with your competition to be your best version of yourself was totally prevalent. The girl who took first night, she made me a better person. She made me push hard. And even though I knew that I wasn't going to win, I said it didn't matter. I'm not going to win right now because I can't catch her. But I'm going to run my best race I've ever run. We're going for that PR. I'm going to get after it, and I will do it. And I did. And I was really proud of myself for that day. So that was definitely a highlight, probably for this year. So
Yeah, and I that's
More to
so
come.
yeah, but that's so awesome to hear because people always, I want to qualify for Kona. I want to qualify for Kona, and I'm like, No, that's, I mean, fine, that's the
Hmm.
byproduct, but that's
Hmm.
not what you're doing. What you're doing is doing what you're talking about, which is really kind of just becoming part of the sport, enjoying the day, getting out there and doing your very best. And then if Kona happens, great. But I just think that
Exactly.
there's a lot of too much chasing of
Hmm.
qualifying, which is
Hmm. You
nice.
have to, and in order actually to qualify, the best way to qualify is to let go of the qualification and to
Exactly.
focus on the pieces that you have to
Yeah.
do to execute. Texas full was a really good example of that for me. I had a horrible race, honestly. I did not go well. But I was able to still qualify because I didn't focus on that. I focused on what do I have to do right now to be my best self for the version that I am at this exact second. And
Hmm.
what is my overall goal for the day? My overall goal day was to cross the finish line with nothing left
Hmm.
on that day for what I had. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
Was not my best day. It was not my best executed, but it was still a really proud day. And I came across it with some of the goals. And the reason being is because I didn't focus on those goals. I focused on what I needed to do for me in that moment.
Yeah. Letting go, so to speak.
Mhm.
That's good. That's really good. So, do you have any superstitions? Wear your socks inside out?
No, no, I'm
Nothing.
definitely not a superstitious person. I'm a very,
Um,
I don't know, what comes, comes.
Nice.
Get out. If I put the work in, it'll show up. And I
That's
have.
perfect.
So, yeah.
That's good. So, three goal. But do you have a goal in the future that if you'd say, I've got a couple, couple of things I'm looking for personally out of the future. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, a couple of things. Well, I will be taking my professional card here after Kona.
Hmm.
So I have some goals within that circuit. Kind of get my feet wet first, and then like to just see how I do within it and see
Hmm.
where it takes me and what that looks like. So that's kind of a goal. It's a very vague goal at this exact second, but it's exciting because it is vague, and it's exciting because I can really say, hey, what do I want from this? Where can it go? What does it look like? Who can I become? And to kind of really take that next step towards, you know, seeing again who's Kayla Bowker and who can she be within the sport.
You're lucky, you're lucky because I didn't have that kind of, I wasn't that kind of athlete. And for you to
Mhm.
be able to go to this level and now you have another level, that's really cool. I mean, because
Yeah,
you've
I'm
got
excited.
so much. Yeah.
I'm excited. It's a goal that I've had for a very long time. It took a lot longer than anticipated, thanks to babies and COVID, but it's totally worth it to have it now. And I think that's the other piece is through that is I didn't want to let go of that goal because I want to show women that it can be done. You can be mom and you can still fill that athlete bucket if that's what you want, or that businesswoman bucket, or that go for that master's degree, or whatever that challenge is that you've always wanted to have. You can still do it. You don't have to give up. You can choose to give up things if you want. That's perfectly fine, but you don't have to. And so that's kind of my big overarching piece that I really want people to see with me is that you can be mom, and mom is hard. Mom is one of the
Mhm.
hardest things you're ever going to do, but you can do other hard things on top of it. And it only is going to make you a better mom, and it's going to make you a better you. And it's more joyful, more fulfilling, and everything about it is so much better when you can do it that way. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of see what that piece takes looks like. And I think that's kind of the next piece, like, from that is just to continue to grow within myself and to show my kids, how mom can be awesome. And that's a big goal of mine is to, allow them to see that and that, women are awesome and women are strong and women are tough. Men are too, but women, we have to stand up for ourselves. And I have two boys and I want those boys to see just how amazing mom can be.
Mhm.
And I think that's probably my biggest goal kind of for the long future. I have some, I'd like my business to grow a bit and, but really just to continue to make sure I've cultivate myself as an athlete and see how I can grow within myself and then continue to help others to find that passion within themselves and, the strength and, to do the hard things that it takes to do triathlon.
Yeah, I like your message a lot. I got to say, as far as all the coaches that I talk to, you don't have a lot of them that say I'm looking at the whole person, which
Mhm.
is a very different, but I think a really good space to be in on the coaching side. So that's very cool. So congratulations, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's how I had to become the athlete I wanted to become. I had to change myself as a whole.
Hmm.
And I'd look at me from the whole. And it's the only way I can be a good mom too.
Yeah.
I can't be a good mom if don't look at myself from a whole and to,
Yeah.
fill the appropriate buckets that you need to do. So
Nice. Well, this is a great spot to end. I just want to say good luck in Kona.
thank
Congratulations.
you.
Yeah, congratulations on all your success and your wonderful family, and to your husband, who sounds like the salt of the earth. I'd like to shake his hand at some point because he sounds like a
He's a
really
great
good
one.
dude.
Yeah, we make a good team, It's that's one of the other cool things about triathlon is even though it is a solo sport, it is a team. It's a team effort, and he's one of my biggest fans and one of my biggest supporters. And between him and my parents who are always there, and my parents will be there in Kona. And I have an amazing team behind me, and I'm really grateful and really thankful for everybody that's a part of it, from from my family to my boys, my husband, parents. Any sponsors and teammates and just everybody out there in it sounds silly and cliche, but everybody out there in the social media world, like I want to do everybody proud, and that keeps me motivated. And so it's a whole network of team, and I'm really grateful for it.
Well, congratulations. Best of luck in Kona. Hope we're going to
Thank
get
you.
a whole bunch of social coming out of you when you get down into
Yes, you
Kona. 'Cause
will.
I'm not going to be there, so I'm going to miss it. So we're going to be
Oh, bummer.
depending
Yeah.
on you.
Okay.
All right. Great seeing you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kayla.
Bye.